Hey guys, today I'm going to be doing a book review on The People's Princess by Flora Harding. In The People's Princess by Flora Harding, Lady Diana Spencer is about to marry Prince Charles, and it feels like a dream come true. But the boredom of the palace and Charles' neglect leave Diana having second thoughts. Diana discovers a diary from the 1800s belonging to Princess Charlotte of Wales, another woman born into a gilded cage, much like Diana. Diana discovers that she and Charlotte have similar lives and an overwhelming popularity that overshadows the men they love. Overall, I did really enjoy this book. I have definitely been waiting for some historical fiction featuring Princess Diana, you guys. I really like all things with the British monarchy. I just find the family just so interesting. Yes, the institution is just, it's wrong and outdated at this point, but it's like I still really like the British monarchy and the people within it, and their lives and stories, because it's just so different from our own lives and that we can't even comprehend it at this point. And yeah, just the history, the history of the British monarchy is just so absolutely fascinating and whatnot. But yeah, I really highly enjoyed this book. And the book is told through two points of view. We obviously have the point of view of Lady Diana Spencer. She is engaged to Prince Charles at the start of this book. Her chapters are kind of very similar to that one episode of The Crown. There's like an episode where Diana, she's just kind of stuck in the palace and she's starting to have doubts and second guessing things in her relationship with Charles, like, am I making the right decision? Is this a bad decision? Do we even really love each other? Her chapters are definitely very reminiscent to that particular episode, where she's just kind of just sitting around in the palace doing nothing, and all she can do is just doubt and second guess herself. And yeah, I really liked her point of view and her chapters, and she's just kind of just spending all this time in the palace. She's bored, she's lonely, no one's really talking to her, everyone is expecting so much from her, but no one is entirely really sharing anything with her, explaining how momentous this is and the importance and the weight and responsibility that she has to have. So yeah, there's her chapters leading up to the wedding, and then interspersed within that are chapters dealing with Princess Charlotte of Wales. And I don't think many people know about Princess Charlotte of Wales. She was the daughter of the Prince Regent during that time. The Prince Regent, who was the son of what was he, Mad King George the Third, right? Is that what you call what he was called? So that era of the Regency was a pretty tumultuous time with the British monarchy, and the ups and downs there, and how the people felt about Mad King George and how they felt about the Prince Regent. But everybody loved Princess Charlotte. She was going to become queen. We would have never had Queen Victoria, you guys, had Princess Charlotte not died tragically. Which, once again, I don't consider history a spoiler at all, because that's a big part of this book is Charlotte's death, and how we even get Queen Victoria later. So I really appreciated what Flora Harding was doing with the narrative, having the dual points of view with Diana and Charlotte, really showcasing their similarities more than anything. Yes, there's definitely differences, but more than anything, they definitely were very, very similar. Their kind of more aristocratic backgrounds, their beauty, their extreme popularity. Oh God, their popularity is just so ridiculous. It's like it's verging into an obsession, and yeah, I mean, both ladies, they state that at some point in this book, that obsession is just so much, it's overwhelming, it's ridiculous. And some other similarities, they both had a passion for helping the poor and the needy and the desperate, just because they live in these nice, wonderful golden gilded cages and whatnot. that doesn't mean that they should stop helping others. They both try to help where they can. They know they're going to rule over these people at some point, and they need to make a good impression. I really liked kind of that similarity that was showcased there with Diana and Charlotte, just their willingness and desire to help the poor and the needy, and hand out charity, and really listen. Really listen to people that are not part of their social circle. And then obviously another big similarity is the fact that they both died very young. Princess Diana died in the car accident when she was only 36. Charlotte died at age 21 through complications following childbirth and whatnot. So yeah, their deaths different, but still, they died both very, very young at the heights of their popularity and whatnot, and their deaths were big, huge things to the public, and people just their depth and degree of mourning for someone they didn't really know, but they still felt that bond and connection with, because these women, they reached out, they took that willingness to reach out and really talk to people and whatnot, so that allowed for people to really feel that connection, like they knew these women. So let me also say this, don't pick this book up if you're expecting this whole book to be all about Princess Diana, because I think this cover is almost very misleading, because it's called The People's Princess, and this is supposed to be Diana on the cover. It's almost kind of misleading, like, oh, this whole book is about Diana, and then the Charlotte chapters are just kind of spaced in there every so often. No, the bulk of this book, surprisingly enough, is actually from the point of view of Charlotte more than anything. Because you'll have like maybe a chapter with Diana, and then you'll go maybe 2 or 3 more chapters with Charlotte, and then go back to just a single chapter with Diana, and then once again another 2 or 3 chapters with Charlotte. So yeah, Charlotte is definitely the big huge bulk of this narrative, which I mean I kind of liked and appreciated, because we all know a lot about Diana. I think a lot of that's so incredibly well documented, but yeah, a lot of people I don't think entirely know about Charlotte. Because yeah, even Diana, because Diana finds a diary. I think it's a fictional diary, you guys. I'm assuming it's like a fictional diary. It's a historic liberty in this book that Flora Harding is taking. Diana finds a diary that belongs to Charlotte, and she's learning about Charlotte and her role, her duties, and her hopes for the future, and the great things she wants to do for the people and whatnot. So yeah, I really appreciated that, because I didn't entirely know too terribly much about her. So I found that very fascinating, and her life and story, and how she kind of, even though she lives in a palace, she still faced her own struggles, having to deal with her father and her grandfather being the Mad King and whatnot. It's all very Game of Thrones. And yeah, her search for love and happiness, but yeah, not wanting to be told what to do and being forced into a marriage and whatnot, So I really liked learning about Princess Charlotte, and oh my goodness, her love story, you guys. She has a couple different loves in her life, but she ultimately ends up with like a Prince Leopold near the end of the book, and their love story is really short-lived, you guys, but oh my goodness, I loved it. It's like I definitely loved that way more than the love in quotes you guys, the love story of Diana and Charles and whatnot. You definitely are supporting and rooting more for Charlotte and Leo in this rather than Diana and Charles, because yeah, you still got Camilla in the way with Charles, and oh my god, all that drama and craziness, Jesus. I think Flora Harding also does a really good job of establishing the voices of both of these women, because they are very similar in their own ways, but they definitely have their differences. And while you're reading this book, it could have been very easy to almost kind of get confused, like, okay, which voice is the voice of what woman? Because some authors, they don't establish different voices very well. And I think the voices of these two women were very unique and different. And so when there were those the jumps between chapters and whatnot, shifting between the points of view and perspectives, it was never disorienting. I was able to be in Diana's point of view one minute, and then in Charlotte's point of view the next, and it wasn't ever confusing or conflicting or weird or strange. I was able to get right back into their voices. I think Flora Harding did a good job of establishing those voices, giving them unique personalities and voices within that. And yeah, that definitely really highly worked for me. Because yeah, I've read books in the past with like multiple points of view, especially if it's like all women, and it all just reads like one character, and you never want that. That's the sign of poor writing right there. If it all reads like one person narrating. And yeah, this is obviously a work of fiction at the end of the day. I definitely think there are some liberties kind of taken in here, obviously, but I think Flora Harding. She did her research. I think it's clear she did her research, and she wanted to try and remain respectful to both of these women, especially Princess Diana, who, she is much more well documented and closer to our present, than Princess Charlotte, because not much is, there's a lot about Charlotte that's kind of not known, and documented. So I think Flora Harding did a good job with the research, and I was fine with any liberties she kind of took, because yeah, especially with Princess Diana, she's really only kind of guessing at some of her emotional state of mind and the places she was kind of at mentally, and yeah, definitely a warning here. This book definitely tackles Diana's bulimia and whatnot. There's numerous chapters where she's running off, she binge eats and then she runs off to a toilet and throws it all back up and whatnot. So yeah, if that's going to disturb you, there's definitely some pretty rough patches in here with the bulimia. But yeah, I think she did a good job, especially with Diana, kind of getting to that emotional state of mind and mentality she might have had right there pre-wedding and whatnot, because we don't really know what she was going on, how she felt. So overall, I definitely recommend this book if you like all things dealing with like the British monarchy or historical fiction or whatever. I really liked both perspectives of both these women. Especially once again Charlotte, because the bulk of this book I think is really definitely Charlotte, and it made me want to research more about her after the fact, kind of what was fact and what was fiction with her in regards to this book. I definitely like that. So if you think you'll have a good time with this book, appreciate the perspective of these two ladies, I think you might get some enjoyment out of this. So you guys, that is it for my thoughts and feelings on The People's Princess. In the comments below, have you guys read this book? Did you love it? Did you hate it? Do you plan on reading it at some time in the future? Just let me know. So that's it for this video. Don't forget to like, comment, and subscribe. And if you like this video, you may like these other videos. Bye guys.